Great question. So for me, and there's a lot of people like me in the music industry. I've said this many times. I feel like my career as an artist and as a performing artist and recording artist prepared me for what I do now. And people who, not everyone knows that I was an artist, but people who remembered me as such say, "Don't you miss performing?" And I perform all the time. Look, I get to do interviews like this. It's fantastic, right? Like I love being on stage. I love communicating a message to an audience, whether it's 1 or 10,000. And I always have something to say, whether it's worth listening to or not. I don't know. You be the judge.
I know that problem.
but I really feel that my career, my 10 years as a touring singer-songwriter prepared me to do what I do now well. And I'll always be grateful for that. And all of the people and fans and friends, and especially family who helped me along the way. Because you couldn't have told me this when I was like 28 and making what was going to be my last record called Monster in My Heart. We released in 1998. I think I was about 28 years old.
What did you tour under? Like, was it a band name?
Erin Benjamin.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. So there's like two.
So I'm going digging. Don't worry. If there are links to be found, they are below.
Yeah, there are two. There's some music that exists online that and I do have a few copies of the record at home, which I could send you, and some T-shirts, which are vintage now and holding up remarkably well in their boxes, I must say. But yeah, it was really. I had a bass player who was my producer and my life partner for several years. Great guy, an incredible musician named Dick Van Ranshoven, who is, I believe, still lives in Sudbury. I haven't seen him for a long time, but he was just amazing. And he produced Monster in My Heart, and we toured together a lot. He was a great acoustic bass player, an electric bass player, and cello player, and just a really funny guy. So great sideman. And then if it was a bigger show, I'd have a band kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you were going through all of that experience, like as touring, because you said you couldn't have told you that you were going to be done with the music part of it,
yeah.
But did you, like, was there a plan B for you?
No.
There wasn't even a plan A.
No, there still isn't a plan B.
There wasn't a plan A, was there?
No, I mean, the plan was to just do, it's really interesting because I've learned so much as I've gotten older. Like I mean, I just never stopped to think. Mm-hmm. What if I can't pay my rent? What if I can't get a gig? What if I make a record and no one likes it? Like, it just didn't. I was that confident, there's another word, cocky. Like, you couldn't have told me you could not have told me anything. And I'm sure people tried along the way to give me advice, and I just blasted through because I was just that kid. I was so sure. And then when I started getting involved with an organization which is now called Folk Music Ontario. It used to be called the Ontario Council of Folk Festivals. They had two winners they have a songwriting contest called Songs from the Heart. It was 1996. And the prize was you got to come and showcase for all these artistic directors at this very small annual conference that they had in Aurelia at the Sundial, which I knew because we drive past it on the way to the cottage every summer on the 400. And so I went to this conference, and by myself, actually. I didn't have Dick with me to play, and I remember being terrified and getting there thinking, what have I done? Like, this is crazy. I don't know anybody, blah, blah, blah. It was just, so I played, and I played okay. I don't think my showcase was that mind-blowing. But what I did was I started talking to people and getting to know over the course of 3 days at this conference some of these amazing people who were all booking festivals. Mm-hmm. And I ended up getting to play some of those festivals and meeting more people, and then really starting to understand how the industry worked and building those relationships. And I haven't looked back. I mean,
how long did it take you to learn that there's only 6 people in the Canadian music industry?
Well, there's a few more than that, but it's really true. And I mean, my personal philosophy, and every single time I talk to an artist or someone who asks me for advice, which is an experience I really love and appreciate, is that it is all about relationships in this industry. It is all about who you know. And the most important thing you can do is show up and participate. So we can all play shows. We all have played shows to 10 people, and half of them are like our mom.
10 people, yeah. Sweet. We got to sell out.
But they know what it's like, right? So, yeah. But you have to work equally hard to be successful in this business at building relationships as well. And I don't care if you're a pop star, if you're Drake, or you're, emerging artist coming out of, small town Ontario. Like, you have to get out there and shake hands and meet people. And even if you're an introvert, and I know, not like, take my twin sister, for example, very introverted. She got all the introverted genes. I got all the extroverted genes. I know it's hard to put yourself out there, but this industry is, it really is who you know, and it takes time to build those relationships. But once we decide we like each other, we might work together, right? Or we won't forget, oh yeah, I met AJ, he's a great guy. Yeah. And maybe, Erin, do you know that artist? I'd love to interview them, but I don't know them. Could you? Now we know we've established this connection, right? That connection is what life is all about. And it's what success in any career or any industry looks like.
Yeah, it's because it's funny because with the Canadian, I'm obviously joking with the 6 people, but obviously it doesn't take you much time sort of exploring, and you just realize everyone knows everyone.
Yeah.
And there are only so many people doing so many things, but that's actually a benefit. It means there's really room for anyone else that wants to come up. You just got to show up to the gig.
I completely agree. And a lot of those people, this is the other thing about like being pro right out of the gate, just like always being a good person, being nice, being professional, because a lot of those people
being professional, fine. Being nice is a tougher lesson to learn for some of us.
Well, I understand that, but I can say from experience that many people that I work with today, I was working with 30 years ago.
Right.
So we were all coming up in whatever roles we were playing. But those people, like Tom Kemp, an agent at Feldman, who just bought the company with Jeff Crabe, he was the junior agent when I was working with Richard Mills, who was my agent at the time when I was an artist. Like, and now he owns the company. Like, that is something that should not be lost on anyone. And I really think that my personal philosophy is just lead with your heart as often as you can. Be a good person, pay it forward, be kind, respectful, listen, learn from other people, and good things happen. Anything can happen. Mm-hmm. I could get fired tomorrow, so I don't know. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but if I do, then I know that I've got a lot of really solid relationships to lean on, and that, I think, is what propelled me.
Don't forget, you can subscribe to our full audio episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere you find your audio podcasts. The full episodes, highlights, and our live off-the-floor performance videos can be found at our YouTube channel, and you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at the AVB Podcast. Of course, you'll find links to our incredible sponsors and this week's guest in the description below. The AVB Podcast is part of the Border City Network. Find more great content at bordercitynetwork.com. See you next time, folks. Bye-bye.